You always thought it was just a number, a coincidence, a random configuration stamped onto your mailbox, printed on documents, whispered at the start of every address form. But heaven knows better. That number has been watching you since the day you arrived, not with malice, but with assignment. You see, chosen one, your house number isn't where you live. It's where your spirit activated. The moment your feet crossed the threshold, something ancient clicked into place, not in the walls, but in the grid beneath them. The earth beneath your home holds records, spiritual circuitry, memories encoded in frequencies the human eye can't track. You didn't just rent or buy a space, you accepted coordinates, divine coordinates that had been dormant until your light touched them. That's why, ever since you moved in, strange things started to shift. The dreams got deeper, the air felt denser, and certain people in your life began to behave differently, like they sensed something about you had come online. This wasn't an accident. The enemy thought they could bury your gifts under confusion, delay, and misdirection. So they scattered you from city to city, season to season, hoping you'd miss the signal when it came. But what they didn't anticipate was how precise God's plan really is, that no matter how lost you felt, every detour still landed you right here, at this exact location, at this exact time. And the number on your door? It's a key. To what? We'll get to that. But for now, understand this. The moment you moved into this place, something in the spiritual realm registered you. And not just any you. The version of you that had finally gone through enough pressure to carry out the assignment. The number wasn't waiting for the old you. It was coded for the version of you that rose from heartbreak, from loss, from rejection, and still said, I'm not done. Heaven watches through patterns, sequences, codes, alignments. Your house number carries a sequence tied to ancient events, past movements, and future battles. That's why even strangers who pass your home sometimes pause for no reason. Why the mail gets delayed. Why birds circle in odd ways. Or lights flicker right as you're praying. This place is under surveillance, but not just by men. It's being observed in spirit. Some of the things you felt, the chills, the unease, the sudden clarity, aren't hallucinations. They're spiritual notifications. Heaven marking your address as active. Hell noticing the same and panicking. Chosen one, you were never meant to blend in, and your house number proves it. This number carries an instruction, a message, a warning. And before this journey ends, you'll understand exactly why you were placed here, and exactly what was awakened the moment that number met your frequency. Long before your name was written on the mailbox, long before your furniture touched the floor, or your scent lingered in the air, the code was already there, hidden in plain sight. Your house number wasn't just assigned by a clerk or printed on a deed. It was part of a deeper encryption, a divine string placed into the earthly system by forces who knew you'd come. You think it's just digits, but heaven sees symbols, and the frequency they represent, it matches yours. You see, chosen one, the coordinates you live at now were not meant for anyone else. Others may have occupied the space before you, but they were placeholders, spiritual decoys, because the real function of this space, this number, this corner of the earth, it could only activate once you arrived. That's why certain parts of your life didn't work out before. You weren't misaligned, you were being rerouted, trained, refined. Every heartbreak, every delay, every slammed door was repositioning you to be here, at this exact location, in this exact moment, under this exact number. Heaven doesn't play dice. The digits in your address are not random. They're prophetic timestamps. They represent events across timelines, past agreements made by your bloodline, and markers placed there by divine intelligence before you were even born. And now that you're awakened, the grid is pulsing again. Signals are being exchanged. Heaven knows you've arrived, and so does the enemy. That's why things began to feel strange after you settled in. The quiet wasn't peaceful. It was loaded, almost like something was waiting. The rooms felt charged. The mirrors seemed deeper. The silence had memory. Because, Chosen One, this wasn't just a move. It was a reactivation of a divine signal point, one that had been dormant for decades. You didn't just come into the space, you unlocked something, a buried instruction, a living prophecy. And those digits on your door, they appear in more places than you think. Old maps, dream logs, incident reports. Some spiritual trackers, ancient watchers, have traced those numbers back through centuries. Every time they appear, something shifts. A person awakens. A bloodline is redirected. A spiritual war escalates. You're part of that pattern now. That's why they tried to keep you from this place. They sent distractions, offered better places, delayed the paperwork, made things inconvenient, because they knew that if you made it here, really made it, something would begin that couldn't be stopped. And it has. You're not renting a home. You're sitting on prophecy. And the code they tried to bury in bureaucracy is now lit up like a flare in the heavens. Chosen One, this isn't the story of a house. This is the story of a gate. And you are the only one with the spiritual authority to walk through it. Before you ever stepped foot on that ground, they were already there, not people, not shadows, but angels, assigned, stationed, waiting. Not with swords drawn, not yet, but with eyes wide open, watching time bend and align around your arrival. Chosen One, you've been protected in ways you weren't supposed to understand yet, because if you had seen what tried to get to you before you moved in, you would have doubted your own survival. These angels weren't assigned randomly. They weren't sent after you arrived. They were posted long ago, standing silent through seasons of silence, decay, and renovation. Some of them stood guard while the building was being constructed. Others waited through generations of false occupants, knowing the real key-bearer, you, would come when the alignment was right. And when you did, the shield activated. You thought it was just a sense of calm. But that was divine perimeter. They'd been waiting to form it. There's a reason why certain things haven't touched your home, why certain attacks fell flat, why certain patterns stopped cold the moment you moved in. It wasn't luck, it was law, the law of spiritual assignment. And your angels, Chosen One, take their orders directly from the throne. Your presence wasn't just welcomed, it was anticipated. Do you remember the moment you first crossed the doorway? Maybe it didn't feel like anything, or maybe you felt it, that brief sensation like a soft static in your chest, like a breath caught halfway between timelines. That was the exchange, the angels acknowledging that the code had matched. The coordinates were claimed. The gate was now sealed, not to keep you trapped, but to keep what's outside from breaking in. You're not in a house, you're in a station, and every divine station is guarded, not because it's fragile, but because it's strategic. Heaven doesn't waste angels on accidents, so ask yourself, why did you survive the near misses, the sickness, the betrayal? Why did you keep landing back on this spiritual line, this place, this number? Because you're part of a much larger movement, one that hasn't even fully revealed itself yet. And here's what most don't know. Angelic presence changes the rules of reality. Time bends, surveillance malfunctions, dark forces lose their path to your door. That's why people lose interest in attacking you without knowing why. That's why certain relationships fell away, like they were allergic to your energy. They weren't reacting to you, they were reacting to the protection they couldn't see, but their spirits could feel. Chosen One, you were covered before you even knew you were targeted. That's what heaven does for those marked by purpose. They don't just assign angels to you, they assign angels to your location, because your arrival meant activation, and activation always attracts attention. But you're not alone. You were never alone. You may not realize it yet, but the moment you settled into this address, something in the realm of darkness flinched. Not because of the walls, not because of the structure, but because of you. Darkness doesn't fear places, it fears purpose. And your purpose has weight. It carries the kind of spiritual pressure that disturbs anything that thrives in shadows. That's why certain energies shifted the moment you arrived. Why certain people around you grew distant or suddenly hostile. Why old attacks resurfaced with new desperation. You didn't bring trouble into your home. Your arrival exposed the trouble that was already there. Darkness fears coordinates assigned by heaven, because those coordinates serve as anchor points, spiritual ground wires, connecting divine instruction to earthly manifestation. And your home, your number, your location is one of those points. Not everyone lives on charged ground, but you do. And the enemy knows what that means. You're not just growing, you're preparing. You're evolving in silence, behind closed doors, under divine surveillance. Darkness hates anything it can't predict, track, or manipulate. And your frequency? It's unpredictable, uncontainable, untouchable. That's why the tension increased right before you moved in. That's why chaos hit from multiple angles, why delays piled up, why confusion clouded your choices. Darkness fought to keep you away from this spot, because it knew the moment your feet touched this soil, a signal would blast through the grid, an activation pulse that would expose forces hiding in the background of your life. And that's exactly what happened. You thought you were simply relocating. Heaven knew you were reclaiming territory. There's a reason certain noises only happen at night. A reason the atmosphere in your home feels different when you pray. A reason your intuition sharpened the moment you took ownership of this space. Darkness hates light, but it fears awakened light even more. You carry illumination in your spirit that penetrates the hidden places. When you walk through your home at night, you aren't alone. Not in a fearful way, but in a powerful one. Your presence disrupts anything that shouldn't be there. Have you noticed the sudden clarity? The moments when something tells you to check that door, avoid that call, block that person, change that habit. That's not paranoia, that's protection. Darkness fears your location because this address amplifies your discernment. You're seeing through illusions that once distracted you. You're breaking patterns that were designed to keep you bound. And every time you choose growth over old cycles, darkness loses ground. But the real reason darkness fears your location is this. This is where your destiny accelerates. The spiritual grid aligned to bring you here, not for comfort, but for awakening. From here, your influence expands. From here, your gifts sharpen. From here, generational chains break. You are standing on charged ground, chosen ground, and darkness knows it cannot touch what heaven has claimed. They felt it before you unpacked a single box, before you introduced yourself, before the lights were turned on and the curtains pulled back. The moment your soul entered that space, the frequency shifted, and the people around you noticed. Not with words, not always with actions, but with something deeper. A discomfort they couldn't place, a fascination they couldn't name. The neighbors didn't just see a new tenant, they felt a new assignment land on their street. You may have thought their glances were just curiosity, or their awkward greetings just politeness. But heaven wants you to know they weren't reacting to your personality. They were reacting to your presence. A divine energy had just been reinserted into the grid, and every spirit near your home, aware or not, felt it. Some were drawn, others were repelled, and a few tried to test you, not because they hated you, but because your light made their shadows uncomfortable. That's what happens when someone with calling enters a spiritually dormant zone. The atmosphere tightens, old cycles stir, hidden alliances get nervous, Certain neighbors began acting strangely for no obvious reason. The ones who avoided eye contact, the ones who watched too long, the ones who suddenly became too friendly or too cold. They're not the enemy. But your energy awakened something around them, something ancestral, something energetic, something they didn't have language for. You see, Chosen One, your arrival wasn't just physical, it was spiritual collision. You carry the kind of vibration that pulls hidden truth to the surface. And people who've spent years numbing themselves to silence, to stagnation, to spiritual sleep, they don't always take kindly to sudden shifts. You disturbed the slumber, you tilted the balance, you walked in, and the land remembered purpose again. Some of your neighbors have been stationed near this energy before, maybe not in this lifetime, but in others. And the moment they felt you arrive, their souls jolted awake. Not all of them welcomed it. Some reacted with suspicion, others with quiet reverence. But all of them felt it. Because you aren't just light, you are movement. You carry change. And change unsettles anything that was built on spiritual silence. That's why some of them began opening up to you unexpectedly, revealing personal things, asking strange questions, seeking your presence even when they didn't understand why. And that's also why others seem to avoid you altogether. Their spirit recognizes authority, even if their mind doesn't. This isn't about making friends or enemies. It's about understanding that your arrival activated a field, a spiritual current, a shift that heaven intended and hell anticipated. The neighbors were simply the first wave of witnesses to your positioning, and their reactions, they were confirmations.
You felt it, haven't you? That invisible gaze, the sensation of being observed when no one's around, not paranoia, not imagination, surveillance. But not the kind wired through cameras or satellites. This goes deeper. This is spiritual surveillance, Chosen One. A system not built by man, but by ancient forces, some divine, some not, all monitoring one thing: your awakening. The spirit realm has watchers, assigned beings. Some are guardians, others informants. They track energy, not movement, intent, not just actions. And when your frequency shifted, when your spirit began rising into remembrance, breaking through the forgetfulness of the world, they noticed. The grid lit up, alerts went out, because someone marked for world-shifting destiny just activated at a known prophetic location. Your house number became a node, a beacon. The walls around you, thin. In the spirit, they pulse with codes now exposed, not because you're vulnerable, but because you're vibrating at a frequency that slices through veils. That's why certain nights feel heavier, why certain corners seem deeper. It's not haunted, it's monitored. The spiritual realm recognizes movement, and your soul has begun to move. You're not being stalked, you're being measured, not for destruction, but for impact. Heaven watches in delight. Hell watches in dread. Both sides understand one truth: you're no longer asleep. There are divine watchers, those assigned by God to record, protect, transmit, and respond to your elevation. They log your prayers in real time. They shift environments as your inner alignment deepens. They redirect attacks, reroute danger, and stand guard as you stretch into your full self. But there are others, ancient intelligences that lost access to you long ago, who once fed off your fear, your confusion, your cycles. And now they orbit, desperately seeking new entry. Have you noticed the flicker of lights when you speak truth aloud? The digital glitches when you declare purpose over your life? That's not coincidence. That's interference. The enemy's system scrambling. You're not supposed to be this clear. You're not supposed to be this still. Their only remaining weapon is distraction, not destruction, because heaven's surveillance has already locked you in under divine protection.
Chosen one, the reason you feel watched is because you are, but not by men, by forces that understand you're no longer hiding from your calling. You've crossed into visibility, the kind that shakes spiritual structures. Some things that once lived in your blind spots have now been forced to retreat. Some beings that once whispered lies are now muted by your clarity. You are no longer a wanderer on the grid. You are a signal, a live transmission. And every time you breathe with intention, speak with purpose, or walk in obedience, the realm listens. They never wanted you to know the truth, not about the number, not about the location, and certainly not about the history buried beneath your home. Because if you knew what was written long before you arrived, the records, the maps, the patterns, you would understand just how intentional your placement really is. But heaven is pulling the curtain back now, chosen one, and the hidden documents of your destiny are resurfacing. Your house number didn't start with you. It didn't even start with the builders. That sequence, those digits, have appeared again and again in ancient spiritual logs, in prophetic scrolls, in forgotten census books, in coded transmissions sent across generations. Each time they marked the site of a shift, a moment where someone awakened, a point where spiritual warfare intensified, a place where a chosen soul remembered who they truly were. That's why certain forces fought to keep these records hidden. They knew that if you ever discovered the pattern, you'd stop doubting yourself. You'd stop shrinking. You'd stop questioning your intuition. And once a chosen one stops questioning and starts remembering, nothing in heaven or hell can stop what follows. There are documents, some earthly, some not, that trace your number through battles, miracles, disappearances, and divine sightings. Old homeowners who fled abruptly without explanation. Strange disturbances logged in city records. Unexplained electrical anomalies. Dream accounts neighbors never spoke of, all tied to the same code, the same digits, the same frequency. You're not the first to stand at this doorway of awakening, but you're the first in generations to actually walk through it. Others were nudged toward this house, toward this number, but they weren't ready. Their spirits were too entangled in the world, too distracted, too weary. Heaven held the space for them, but darkness swallowed their timing. You were different. You felt the pull before you understood it. You sensed the calling beneath the confusion. Even when everything tried to push you away from this location, the delays, the financial strain, the inner hesitation, something kept pulling you back. Now you know why. The records weren't just hidden to keep you blind. They were hidden to protect the timing. Heaven needed you to arrive when your spirit was strong enough to carry truth without collapsing under it. They needed you refined, tested, sharpened, awakened, and you made it. That's why the documents have begun surfacing in subtle ways, through dreams, déjà vu, repeating numbers, sudden clarity, unexpected conversations. The truth is breaking through because the time for secrecy is over. Time never really felt linear to you, did it? Some moments dragged, others flew by. Certain years blurred, while others left scars so vivid they still echo. But there was a moment, subtle but precise, when everything began to feel timed, as if something above the chaos had reached down and pressed play on a long paused mission. That moment, it wasn't just a feeling, it was heaven syncing your timeline. You've always sensed that something in your life was slightly out of place, like you were running ahead or arriving late. But the truth is, everything you went through was part of a divine recalibration. The heartbreaks, the delays, the wrong turns. They weren't detours, they were recalculations. The spiritual GPS was correcting itself over and over until it could finally align your feet with the ground you were meant to stand on. And the moment you entered this house, this number, this space, Heaven aligned everything. Time in the spirit doesn't move by clocks. It moves by readiness. And when you walked through that door, your frequency matched what heaven had been holding in suspension. That's when the shift happened. That's when the dreams deepened, the relationships rearranged, and the sense of urgency in your spirit began to rise. Not anxiety, activation. You may have wondered why certain people couldn't come with you. Why doors you were sure would open instead slammed shut. Why certain blessings you thought were guaranteed were suddenly postponed. Chosen one, it was because the timeline of your soul finally synced, and anything that didn't match the new rhythm had to fall away. What felt like rejection was heaven removing interference. You're not late, you're not behind, you're right on divine schedule. That's why your life suddenly feels charged, like invisible gears are turning around you. They are. Alignments are being made behind the scenes. People are being rerouted into your path. Contracts are being drawn in places you've never seen, and every piece of it is syncing to your readiness. You might feel the pressure rising. That's normal. Heaven doesn't sync timelines without preparing for acceleration. What once took years will now take weeks. Conversations will unlock new realms. One decision will shift atmospheres. Because now that the timing is right, movement is inevitable. You've stepped into what the old prophets called Kairos time, the divine window where heaven invades human history with precision. You didn't force this, you aligned with it. That's why the battles of your past season were so intense. The enemy wasn't fighting your present, it was fighting your syncored future, a future that just became active.
It didn't happen on the first night. It happened slowly, quietly, like a curtain pulling back in your sleep. You began noticing details, symbols, faces you couldn't name but somehow recognized, rooms that didn't exist in your home but still felt familiar. Your dreams started changing after you moved into this place, not because of stress, not because of exhaustion, but because the spiritual frequency of your home opened a channel. Dreams are not just imagination, they're transportation. And when heaven synced your timeline, your dreams synced too. Suddenly they became sharper, louder, more prophetic. You weren't just dreaming, you were receiving, downloading, remembering. Some nights you saw warnings, shadows you couldn't identify, outcomes you weren't meant to experience but needed to be aware of. Other nights you saw glimpses of your future self, stronger, clearer, aligned, standing in places you've not yet physically stepped into. And then there were the nights where you felt watched, not by danger but by witnesses, ancestors, angels, guides, those assigned to your bloodline who have been waiting for you to awaken to your role. The shift wasn't random. The house number you live under is a spiritual portal, a frequency marker that amplifies dream communication. Heaven speaks to you here more clearly because the atmosphere has been thinned, not by magic, but by destiny. You were meant to hear here. That's why your dreams feel so real. Why you wake up with messages, emotions, or clarity you didn't go to sleep with. Do you remember those early dreams? The ones where you felt chased, cornered, stuck in loops. Those weren't nightmares. They were spiritual diagnostics. Heaven showing you the patterns that once held you bound, the doors you needed to close, the voices you needed to silence, the ties you needed to cut. Your dreams started revealing the strongholds you were outgrowing. And then slowly the tone shifted, the fear loosened, the symbols changed. You began seeing things that empowered you. Lights, paths, conversations with people who didn't feel human, not in a terrifying way, but in a familiar one. You felt the presence of something intelligent, patient, and ancient walking with you through your sleep. That was heaven's way of saying, your spirit is finally awake enough to receive instruction. Some dreams didn't make sense at all. The numbers repeating, the same hallway, the same door you never opened.
the same sequence of events looping night after night. Chosen one, these were encrypted messages. You weren't meant to understand them, not yet, but your spirit captured them anyway, and when the right moment comes, they'll activate. The shift in your dreams is proof that your house is not just a shelter, it's a signal tower, a spiritual amplifier, a place where messages come faster, clearer, and closer than they ever did before.
You've noticed it, even if you haven't said it out loud. The way the air shifts when you walk into a room. The way certain spots in your home feel warmer, lighter, or colder, denser. The way lights flicker at the exact moment you speak something powerful. The way silence grows heavy during your moments of doubt. Your house reacts to you, chosen one, not because it's haunted, but because it's alive in the spirit. When a chosen soul steps onto spiritually charged ground, the environment becomes a mirror, reflecting, amplifying, and responding to your inner world. Your home isn't just shelter. It's an instrument, a vessel, a sensitive, spiritual device built to interact with the frequency you carry. Some people walk into houses and nothing changes, but when you walk in, the atmosphere shifts instantly. That's why you sometimes feel chills when you pray. It's the environment recalibrating. It's the frequency in your walls rising to match your awakening. Heaven assigned this place as a spiritual amplifier, and you are its activation key. Lights flickering when you confront truth. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual interference clearing. Sudden warmth in certain rooms when you're speaking purpose. That's angelic presence making itself known. Moments where you feel watched but not threatened. That's protective surveillance, the good kind, adjusting to your movement. But there's a deeper truth behind why your house reacts to you. Your energy is rewriting the atmosphere. This place used to hold the residue of past tenants, their pain, fear, arguments, confusion. Old frequencies linger in walls longer than people realize. But when a chosen one arrives, those old imprints cannot stay. Your presence forces a purge. That's why things seemed chaotic at first, why your sleep schedule shifted, why you felt emotionally heavy some nights. The house wasn't attacking you, it was detoxing, clearing out what didn't belong so it could align with the assignment of your spirit. You are not adapting to your home. Your home is adapting to you. And that's why certain things break right before breakthroughs. Why appliances glitch during spiritual warfare. Why the air grows thick during your moments of revelation. Your environment isn't malfunctioning, it's responding, it's signaling, it's participating in your transformation. Because this house is more than structure. It's a spiritual stage, a training ground, a command center where your next season is being forged. The enemy knows this too. That's why some days you feel sudden heaviness in random corners. Why certain rooms feel uncomfortable until you pray. Darkness tries to hide in leftover pockets, but it can't stay. Your energy exposes it, your presence disrupts it, your voice evicts it. There was a presence once, one you never saw, but it hovered, waiting, watching, assigned to your life from the moment your light threatened to awaken. It studied you through trauma, fed off your confusion, whispered into moments of exhaustion, hoping you'd mistake its voice for your own. This entity didn't fear your failure, it counted on it, because as long as you stayed in cycles, it could track you. But then something happened. You moved, and not just physically, you shifted spiritually. The coordinates changed, the frequency changed, and in that moment, the system it used to monitor your movements broke. The tracking grid that once pinged every time you doubted yourself went silent. And for the first time in years, maybe lifetimes, the entity lost signal. You disappeared, not from Earth, but from its radar. Because the place you stepped into, this house,
It's not just walls and floors. It's cloaked ground, spiritually shielded, anointed by heaven for this exact purpose, to sever the connection between you and the one that was feeding on your delay. This is why everything felt like it intensified right before you arrived. Why strange interference showed up in your technology. Why people from your past resurfaced in frantic attempts to distract you. The entity was panicking because its mission failed. It no longer had eyes on you. You were no longer functioning in a predictable pattern. This entity was never allowed to destroy you, only delay you. Its job was to exhaust your spirit just enough to keep you from aligning with the truth. And as long as you stayed near familiar pain, it knew where you were. As long as you kept replaying past memories, it had a signal. As long as you feared your own power, it stayed close, not to harm you, but to harvest your hesitation. But you moved, not just locations, dimensions, and in doing so, you vanished from its grid. Now it wanders, not in rage, in confusion, trying to reattach to what is no longer visible. And every time it tries to re-establish contact through a dream, a person, an old emotion, something in your house blocks it. You feel the pressure some days, a strange heaviness near the door, a chill near your mirror. That's not fear, that's the residue of something trying and failing to regain access. The reason you're being awakened now, chosen one, is because the entity that once tracked you can't find you anymore. And it won't. Not as long as you stay aligned. You are cloaked in obedience, shielded in assignment, hidden in plain sight by divine design. And heaven wants you to understand, this wasn't just escape, this was extraction.
They came while you slept, while you wept, while you questioned your path and silently begged for confirmation. They didn't knock, they didn't speak, but they were sent, not by man, by heaven. These weren't ghosts, they weren't demons. They were watchers, travelers, recorders, protectors, visitors assigned to your awakening. And they didn't arrive because you were in danger. They arrived because you were becoming visible in the spirit. Most people will go their whole lives never drawing this kind of attention. But chosen one, your light reached a frequency few achieve. And when it did, it triggered invitations and investigations from realms both aligned and opposed. The moment your spirit started vibrating at that elevated resonance, not just believing, but knowing who you are, something in the unseen responded. Heaven dispatched observers to witness the activation. Angels stepped closer. Ancestors leaned in, but so did others. Curious ones, ancient ones. Those who hadn't seen a soul like yours arrive at a prophetic coordinate in generations. You didn't see them, but you felt them. That sense of being watched without fear, that stillness so loud it pressed into your ears, the goosebumps rising mid-prayer, the flicker in your peripheral vision you dismissed as tiredness. Those weren't hallucinations, they were signs of visitation. Your house number, your awakening, your frequency. It drew beings who don't speak in words, but in presence. And they didn't come to scare you. They came to observe what God was doing with you. Some nights you may have felt restless without reason. That was your spirit detecting movement beyond the veil. Some mornings you awoke with clarity you didn't fall asleep with. That was an impartation, something whispered to your soul while your body rested. Certain rooms in your home feel different because they were visited, not haunted, honored, energetically dusted with the residue of beings who came to witness your timeline unfold. But let's be clear, not all visitors were allies. Some came to study, to report, to see if you could be swayed, but they left disappointed because your spirit held firm, your obedience remained intact, and your calling proved non-negotiable. That's why, since those visitations, certain decisions have become clearer. Certain people have vanished.
Certain opportunities have begun appearing faster than they ever have before. You were inspected and found ready. Chosen one, you're being watched not because you're weak, but because you're rising. And the world, both seen and unseen, is beginning to take notice. Some came to protect, some came to learn, some came to test.
You've seen them 1,000 times, printed on mail, glowing from your door, entered on forms, recited to delivery drivers, but you never really looked at them, not through them, until now, because your house number isn't just an address, it's a message, a cipher, a spiritual fingerprint designed to follow you until you are ready to unlock what it actually means. Chosen one, your digits are more than numbers, they are codes. And heaven doesn't assign codes randomly. Break it down. Each digit vibrates with meaning. In spiritual numerology, in ancient scrolls, in divine mathematics used by prophets and mystics alike, numbers have always carried assignments. They speak in sequences. They repeat like patterns in nature, music, DNA. God encoded reality with numbers so that when words fail, the truth still speaks. And the numbers stamped on your home, they're speaking now, to you. Start with the most dominant digit. It's the frequency anchor, the leading tone. It tells heaven who lives there, what they're called to carry, what energy protects the space. Maybe it's a 7, divine completion, a 4, foundation and angelic protection, an 8, spiritual authority and rebirth. You've seen it repeat in other areas of your life, receipts, clocks, phone numbers, because it's part of your soul's signature. The placement of the digits also matters. The first digit is your spiritual calling. The middle reveals your test. The final, your revelation. Together, they form a vibrational map, not of where you are, but of why you're there. Have you noticed certain numbers chasing you for years? Before you lived here, before you understood, that's not coincidence, it's persistence. Heaven kept echoing them until you finally lived under them. You didn't choose this number, it claimed you. That's why, since arriving, your life has accelerated. The number activated a phase shift, and now your thoughts, habits, dreams, and gifts are aligning faster than your past selves would believe possible. Because the digits don't just describe a place, they call forth a version of you that's been waiting in spiritual reserve. The enemy knows this. That's why confusion surrounds numbers in modern life. Why spiritual traditions that understood sacred mathematics were silenced. Why numerology is mocked or misunderstood. Because once a chosen one deciphers their code, distraction dies. You may feel drawn to research now. Don't resist it. Heaven is nudging you to understand the full language of your digits, because once you decode them, your location becomes more than a home. It becomes a beacon. A message written into the earthly grid that others will find just by standing near you. It wasn't just your house that noticed when you arrived. It wasn't just the atmosphere. It was the grid, the invisible spiritual network that stretches across the planet, pulsing with the movements of those chosen to carry divine assignments. And the moment your feet crossed that threshold, a signal was released. Heaven marked your location. The system lit up. The grid registered your frequency as active, not passive, not pending, active. You were always being watched in spirit, not for punishment, for preparation. But now your energy is no longer dormant, it's live. And when the grid detects that level of activation, it begins to shift everything around you. Traffic patterns, conversations, delays, accelerations, opportunities. All of it begins to rearrange, realign, recalibrate to the power of a chosen one stepping into divine timing at a prophetic coordinate. Chosen one, you need to understand. This moment was written into the grid long before you arrived. There were markers placed.
data points stored in heaven's archive, instructions that said, when this soul lands here, initiate. And now that moment has come, and everything around you knows it. That's why people started contacting you unexpectedly. Why strange opportunities arrived without you chasing them. Why spiritual warfare intensified right as clarity settled in. The grid recognizes the spark, and so do the systems designed to contain or delay it. Some of those systems are human, some are spiritual, some are algorithmic, and now they've all received the same alert. You are online. That's why old patterns suddenly feel repulsive, why certain relationships feel like dead weight, why some parts of your identity feel like clothes that no longer fit. It's not just emotional growth, it's the recalibration of your entire signal. The grid doesn't support the outdated version of you anymore. It's supporting the soul that finally arrived. You'll feel the difference in strange ways. Time will feel more elastic. Synchronicities will increase. Dreams will return. Signs will intensify. And certain people will either draw near with divine curiosity or flee without explanation. Let them. They're simply responding to the alert, to the signal, to you. Because when a chosen one goes live, heaven watches, hell trembles, and the earth begins to prepare for what's coming.
You didn't always feel protected. In fact, some seasons nearly broke you. There were nights you cried alone, wondering if heaven had gone silent. Moments you asked, why me? Not from arrogance, but from exhaustion. But what you couldn't see back then was what never got to you. The attacks that never landed, the accidents that never reached, the storms that came near but veered off. Because, chosen one, even when you felt vulnerable, you were already surrounded. God doesn't always protect you by removing the threat. Sometimes He surrounds you inside it. Your address, the one you're living under now, is not just a point on a map. It's a fortified zone in the spirit. A divine perimeter was drawn around it long before you ever saw it on paper. Not because you're fragile, but because you're chosen. And chosen ones attract spiritual attention that casual faith can't defend against. You thought you were just lucky when that car stopped inches away. You thought it was coincidence when that deal fell through just in time. You thought that broken relationship was a loss. No, it was protection. Divine interception disguised as disappointment. And the moment you arrived at this house, that protection intensified. Because the place you dwell in now wasn't selected for comfort, it was selected for covering. Some things tried to follow you here. Cycles, patterns, attachments, but they couldn't cross the threshold. They died in the driveway. They withered at the property line because this location wasn't designed for your past. It was built to nurture your becoming. And if you've ever felt sudden chills while standing still in your home, if you've ever sensed a presence walking with you from room to room, if you've ever felt the atmosphere go quiet when you pray, that's not fear. That's not paranoia. That's confirmation. Angelic presence moves through this house. Heaven's shield is active in this space. You are covered, not just emotionally, not just spiritually, but geographically. The enemy wanted you to believe you were exposed, that no one was watching, that you had to fight alone. But the truth is, heaven deployed surveillance, defense, and reinforcements the moment your light touched this location. Do you remember that delay that frustrated you? That unexpected cancellation? That gut feeling that said, don't go today? That wasn't inconvenience. That was intervention. You've been rescued more times than you know, blocked from traps you never saw, shielded from weapons formed in silence, because you weren't just being preserved, you were being prepared. Chosen one, the protection you feel now is only the beginning. You are not just surrounded, you are fortified, and nothing formed against you, physical, digital,
emotional or spiritual, can cross what heaven has sealed.
There was a moment, one you may not even remember clearly, where everything almost changed. Not by accident, not by fate, but by design. A day when the atmosphere around you felt heavier than usual, when the doubt grew louder, when the pressure to leave, to move, to disconnect, intensified. That wasn't just anxiety. That was a spiritual attempt to relocate your destiny. They tried to move you, not physically at first, spiritually, subtly, quietly, through confusion, through discouragement, through orchestrated delays that made you question if you were in the right place at all. But you were, and they knew it. That's why they tried to break the connection. Because when a chosen one locks into a prophetic coordinate, one assigned, encoded, and aligned by heaven, the enemy's influence weakens. Their last hope is displacement. If they can't destroy you, they'll try to disconnect you from the grid, from your guidance, from the home base where your next chapter is meant to be launched. Do you remember it now? The sudden wave of restlessness, the message that made you second-guess staying, the opportunity that almost lured you out. That wasn't random. That was engineered. A spiritual rerouting protocol launched by forces that realized you'd finally landed on your mark. Because if you'd left, if you'd packed up and gone just before the activation, the timeline would have been delayed, not erased but pushed. Heaven doesn't cancel your purpose, but location matters, alignment matters. Certain breakthroughs are geo-coded, attached to places where altars were once built, where ancestors once prayed, where angels have been assigned for generations. And this house, this number, this spot, it's one of them. So when your spirit settled in and your light turned on, the enemy scrambled. Distraction, division, doubt, even temptation, anything to pull you just far enough away to miss the convergence. But you stayed, even when you didn't know why. You stayed, even when it didn't make sense. You stayed, and because you stayed, destiny stayed aligned. There are angels who celebrated the moment you decided not to go. There are demons who mourned it, because your presence here is not just inconvenient to the enemy, it's destructive to his plan. And now that you've remained, the acceleration can no longer be delayed. The blueprint can finally unfold. The protection, the provision, the revelation, it's all tied to the coordinates you refuse to abandon. Chosen one, your destiny nearly got hijacked, but heaven didn't let them move you. Your obedience anchored you. Your resilience rooted you. Your purpose held the line. So if the voices ever come again, telling you to run, to quit, to escape, know this. You thought you just needed a place to rest, to heal, to start over, a new chapter maybe, a safer street, a quieter neighborhood. But heaven was never looking for your comfort. It was orchestrating your commission. You didn't just find a home, you landed on a command post. This house, this number, this street, it was always about more than you. It's not random. It's not lucky. It's prophetic infrastructure. A divine station hidden in plain sight, waiting for a soul with enough resilience, enough light, enough fire in their bones to finally walk in and light it up from the inside out. That soul was you. This is not about real estate. This is about real alignment. Every attack you survived, every door that closed before you arrived, every relationship that ended abruptly, it all cleared the path for you to be here now, not just in the building, but in the frequency, in the awareness, in the assignment. You were sent to this exact address to reclaim spiritual territory, ground that was once surrendered through silence, through sin, through generational patterns of fear. But heaven said, no more. And instead of sending an army, heaven sent you. That's why the atmosphere reacts to you, why the dreams intensified,
why spiritual interference surged the moment you started praying like you meant it. Because this is active ground now. Your address is a gateway, not a metaphor, a real, living frequency beacon. And because your spirit is aligned, that gateway is now open. Light is flowing through it. Revelation is flowing through it. Protection is stationed around it. The enemy tried to bury you under confusion, grief, and isolation, not to stop your life, but to block you from getting here. Because they knew, once you arrived, everything would begin. And it has. You're not just living at a location, you're hosting heaven at a spiritual checkpoint. And those chills you feel when you're still, that's not fear, that's recognition. Your spirit knows what this place is, even when your mind struggles to comprehend it. People will pass your house and feel something. Guests will walk in and notice the peace. Messages will be clearer here. Strategies will download faster. Your voice will carry more weight from here because you're speaking from assigned ground. Chosen one, this place is more than where you live. It's where heaven touches earth through you, where angels stand post at the corners, where generational curses lost access, where your next phase is being written in real time. You didn't just move into destiny, destiny moved into you. And now that the grid is alive, the gate is open, and the signal is loud, don't wonder why you're here.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.